Tifawin, everybody. Tifawin to your mind, your body, and your voice. I'm Shima Hashimi, and this is your Tifawin podcast. And today, I want to start with a room, not a mountain, not a desert or a parachute, just a room. Because I think we've done something very strange to the word adventure. We've dressed it up in such dramatic clothes that most people stopped recognizing it when it showed up in their own lives. But I will come back to that. First, the room. A few years ago, I was facilitating a workshop with a group of university students, and toward the end of the day, I asked what I thought was a very simple question. And actually, now that I think about it, that's usually how trouble starts. Questions that seem simple. So I asked them, what's something you've wanted to do for a long time? And the answers came immediately. Learn Spanish, start a business, apply for a scholarship, travel alone, write a book. The answers were diverse and beautiful. Then I asked a second question. Why haven't you done it? And something fascinating happened. The room became very quiet. Not the uncomfortable quiet, but the thinking quiet. The kind of quiet where everybody suddenly realizes they are about to tell the truth. One student starts and said, I don't have enough time. Another, I don't have enough money. Another one, I'm waiting until I finish my degree. Another one, I'm waiting until things became more stable with my family. And another one said a statement that everybody agreed on, which is, I'm waiting until I feel ready. The whole room nodded with agreement because somehow we all understood exactly what she meant. To be ready, such an innocent little word. Ready sounds responsible, mature, intelligent, but nobody has ever looked at someone and said, wow, you're so reckless. You waited until you felt ready? That's insane. To say that I'm waiting to be ready, you sound like you say something wise. But the more I thought about that workshop afterward, the more that word started bothering me. To be ready. Because what exactly does it mean to be ready? Seriously, think about it. What does ready actually feel like? How do you know when you're arrived there? Is there a notification? A certificate? Does somebody knock on your door one morning and say, hey, congratulations? You are now officially prepared for the uncertain future? Of course not. And yet, millions of people are waiting for this invisible moment. And I think that's interesting because today's word is adventure. And if you're anything like me, when you hear adventure, your brain immediately starts producing images of mountains, backpacks, campings, somebody crossing an ocean. Basically, the kind of life that would make a very dramatic Instagram video. And because that's the image we have, most people immediately exclude themselves. They say, oh, that's not for me. I have responsibilities. I have work. I have family. I live in the real world. This is reality. But here's what I've been wondering. What if we've completely misunderstood the word? What if adventure isn't what we think it is? Because when you really look at the adventures that matter the most in people's lives, they rarely look adventurous at all. Like falling in love, changing careers, having a very difficult conversation, leaving your home country or leaving your house with the family. You decided to live alone. None of those things involves mountains, but all of them involve uncertainty. And I think uncertainty is the part we've been trying to remove, which is funny because certain uncertainty is the entire point. Like, imagine someone say, I'm going on an adventure, but I already know exactly what's going to happen, where I'm going, who I will meet, how this trip will end, and what I will learn. Everything. I know everything. Do you think this is an adventure? At least for me, that's not an adventure. And maybe that's why the word interests me. Because adventure is one of the few words that completely collapses the moment certainty arrives. The second you know everything, the adventure is over. And that's when I started thinking about something else. How language, how words leave clues. They carry fossils, little pieces of history hidden inside them that we aren't aware of. And the word adventure comes from a root connected to exposure, risk, entering something whose outcome cannot be guaranteed, uncertainty. And I think that's an important distinction because we've confused uncertainty with danger. They are not the same thing. Sometimes they overlap, but not always. A first conversation with someone you admire is uncertain, but not dangerous. Starting a project is uncertain, but not dangerous. Applying for a scholarship you might not get is uncertain, but not dangerous. Uncertainty itself isn't the enemy. The enemy is our relationship with it. And if you don't believe me, pay attention to how people talk, especially adults. Children ask, what will happen? Adults ask, what if it goes wrong? Same uncertainty, different relationship. In that shift fascinates me because somewhere along the way, many of us stopped seeing uncertainty as a place where something could emerge. We started seeing it as evidence that we shouldn't move, which brings me back to that workshop. Because after everybody gave their reasons, I asked one final question. I asked them, what if Freddy never comes? And the room laughed. Not because it was funny, because everybody knew exactly what I meant. You know that laugh people do when they've accidentally recognized themselves? That kind of laugh. Because what if Freddy isn't a place? What if Freddy is something we invent after we've already started? And before you think this is one of those motivational speeches where I'm going to tell you to quit your job and move to another continent, just relax. I'm not. And actually, I think that's part of the problem. We only recognize adventure when it's dramatic, but some of the biggest adventures happen quietly. Like A young woman choosing a path nobody in her life understands. A man admitting he's unhappy after pretending for years that everything is fine. Returning to university at 40. Someone leaving their home country. Someone changing their mind. Those stories rarely become movies, but they change lives. And maybe that's what adventure really is. Not excitement, not adrenaline, not drama. Maybe adventure is simply the decision to move before certainty arrives. And I think history agrees, not because history is full of heroes, because history is full of confused people who only became heroes afterward. That's the part we forget. We tell stories backward. We start with the legend, the success, the outcome, the certainty. But nobody experiences life that way. Nobody gets to live the biography version. You live the uncertain version, the unfinished version of your life. The version where you're standing in your own life with incomplete information, trying to make a decision. And that's where adventure actually lives. Not in the ending, but in the unknown. And maybe that's why the word survives. Because every generation rediscovers the same thing. That certainty is comfortable, but comfort alone is not enough. At some point, something inside people begins asking for more. Not necessarily more success, but more aliveness. And aliveness has always required uncertainty. So before I go, I want to leave you with something with a question, or actually three questions. The first one: what have you been calling preparation that is actually postponing, procrastination? Second question: what would you do if you stopped waiting to feel ready first? Question three: when was the last time uncertainty entered your life and your first instinct wasn't to eliminate it, but to listen to it? Because maybe adventure isn't waiting for you somewhere else. Maybe it has been standing quietly at the edge of your life this whole time. Not asking you to be fearless, not asking you to be reckless, just asking you to stop demanding guarantees. And maybe that's the lie we tell ourselves about adventure. The adventure begins after certainty, when in reality, certainty is the one place adventure has never lived. Okay, everyone, I think that's it for today. Think about the three questions and get back to me in the comment section. See you into your day.